All right, guys. Of course, we got to talk about the point guard, Chris Paul, and that is the Clippers, the Hornets, the Mavericks. The Suns are interested in Chris Paul. Yeah, the Clippers arguably need a true point guard, and he could be a six-man or start alongside James Harden and Kawhi Leonard and Norman Powell, as Kawhi then would probably play power forward. Hornets, he would be their six-man. This is a team that seemingly is trying to make a playoff push, just bring in veterans, follow what the Detroit Pistons did. Dallas legitimately needs a bridge point guard, and I think Dallas, the Clippers, and the Suns are the three teams that work best. I don't know if you'd go to Phoenix. I mean, Phoenix is probably interested because they need a point guard. He's the best point guard that they could get at regarding the restrictions that they have without having to move much. You can just sign there probably for the minimum. And this is what I'm thinking, minimum, maybe part of the mid-level exception at most. But if he's really wanting opportunity, the Clippers, the Mavericks, and the Suns, if the Hornets are willing to give out, dole out some money, I could see that being the landing spot. But if you guys had your own druthers, tell me in the comments down below, what do you think of Chris Paul? Is he still an impactful player? Would you trade for him, and why? I'd like to hear what you have to say. By the way, like and subscribe for more content like this. Work for hoopshype.com, and we make content like this on the daily. Now, I think the biggest thing people need to understand is when you look at this report is that Steinlein has said that Dallas hopes to make a free agent run with Chris Paul. Obviously, we know that they're targeting D'Angelo Russell, and it seems that Mavericks believe Russell's far more attainable. However, Paul does not appear to be interested in spending another season in Texas with his children both being teenagers in South California. Hence why I think the Mavericks and Hornets are going to be more if they throw money at him. And he's like, yeah. But I do believe the Clippers or the Suns, probably the two best. The Suns are a short flight away from Los Angeles, while the Clippers, being a team he previously played for, also being where his kids are currently located, is a big reason why I think he has interest in either of those teams. And we mentioned it before, James Harden, Norman Powell, Kawhi Leonard, that can all shift up, shooting guard, small forward, power forward. Then you have Zubac. You move Derrick Jones Jr. off the bench with Chris Dunn and Bogdanovich, Kobe Brown, Jordan Miller. Now you have Chris Paul starting, and you can even have Chris Paul come off the bench, but I think Chris Paul, you probably want to start at that point because he being impactful. You have Yannick Conan Niederhauser. You can clear $4.75 million of cap space by waiving the non-guaranteed contract of Drew Eubanks, which is expected. And this would allow you not to need to bring back Patty Mills or Ben Simmons, even though bringing those two back would be luxuries. Same thing with Amir Coffey. The expectation is Nick Batum is returning. And they have Kobe Sanders, Cam Christie, Seth Lundy, and Kobe Brown and Pat Baldwin, who are all young guys that could take step forwards. That bringing in like Chris Paul is just going to create high efficient looks for those guys to thrive. Now, if we move over to the Hornets, they just traded for Colin Sexton, basically getting a second-round pick, and Colin Sexton for Jusuf Nurkic, as the Jazz wanted some depth, while the Hornets, they're going to run their guys, probably go hunting for a big man, but really cool with the big guys that they have and just trying to get some veteran presence with Colin Sexton. And Sexton's more of a combo guard with point guard-like skills, so bringing in Chris Paul will allow you to have a guy run the second unit, be an insurance policy for LaMelo, can play with LaMelo as they'll force LaMelo to play off ball. And now with LaMelo, Conca Nipple, Miles Bridges, Brandon Miller, your centers right now either Musa Diabate or a Ryan Kalkbrenner, with Tijan Saloon being also one of their bigs. They're probably going to bring back Trey Mann, I'm assuming, and KJ Simpson, so that you could benefit there. You have Ozzie Mizic, Nick Smith, Daquan Jeffries, Sion James, and my boy Liam McNeely and Josh Okogie. So this is actually a team that's got some length, defense, and a lot of shooting that Chris Paul can set up if he were to be brought there. Now we go over to the Mavericks. This is seemingly, if they don't get D'Angelo Russell and they need to pay, outside of Jaden Hardy and Brandon Williams, there is no point guard there. So they might bring back Spencer Dinwiddie, Dante Exum. There hasn't been like a bunch of reporting on that. Your assumption is they would. Still, you would like to have a guy like Chris Paul, even if you were to get D'Angelo Russell, just because it will allow you to have multiple options until Kyrie comes back, if he does come back this year. And I think all those guys can play next to Cooper Flag, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, PJ Washington, Najee Marshall. I don't know what's going to happen with Omax and Dwight Powell, but those are all guys that I think that can, work together, and that's a big thing. The Suns have had a point guard hole since they traded, and they're expected to keep traded for KD and Bradley Beal, and they're expected to keep Jalen Green. So Jalen Green and Devin Booker can play the shooting guard and small forward. You move Dylan Brooks, I guess, the power forward. Ryan Dunn comes off the bench. Mark Williams, starting center. Come on, Malawach is backup with Nick Richards. Nick Richards could be flipped. We're hearing about that. Rasheer Fleming can play power forward and center. They also have Oso Iguodaro, who can still help them out. They brought back Colin Gillespie. They got shooting in Cody Brea, and Grayson Allen is still there, and so is Bradley Beal. So bringing Chris Paul can really maximize this roster and the players that are there, in my opinion, by bringing in a Chris Paul who basically was the coach when Monty Williams was there and helped lead them to the finals and multiple deep playoff runs. So to me, that one does make sense and could be a minimum contract that they would be interested in bringing in. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you think should happen and why? If you made it to the end of the video, hit that like and subscribe button. I do definitely think that Chris Paul being available for any of these teams could be huge, as all of these teams would benefit bringing him in.